Have you ever tried an eyeshadow palette that has completely changed your makeup game? If not, you might want to try the Eldridge FAWN Eyeshadow Palette. It has been designed to sculpt and define your eyes using some neutral shades, and with a range of different finishes. I'm sure you're going to love it just as much as I do. So let's get straight on with the tutorial. I have been sent these Mercier primers, which you've seen me use before, but because I haven't used them in a while, I thought I'd reintroduce them. I'm going with the blurring one, but you can also get it in illuminating and hydrating. Primers are designed to extend the wear of your foundation or your base makeup, and you would choose your primer based on your skin type. So if you're slightly drier, you might want the hydrating one or the illuminating one. I am more oily combination, so I've chosen the blurring one because it helps to disguise the appearance of pores and imperfections, but it also helps to keep oil at bay. You can also apply this with your fingers, you don't have to use a brush. I'm now going to just prep my lips ahead of whatever I'm going to put on them later. This is Lano Lips in Strawberry. I think this will forever be one of my favourite foundations. This is the Makeup Forever HD Skin. We have two versions. We have the original Natural Matte and then we have the Hydra Glow. Today I'm going to mix these two foundation shades together. One of them is the Hydra Glow, one of them is the Natural Matte. So I'm going to have something in the middle in terms of the finish. The reason I'm mixing them is just because the shade will work better and I wanted to see the finish of them mixed together. There is a reason this is a staple in so many makeup artists' kit. It's one that I've reached for ever since it came out. I actually chose this one for my wedding day because of its versatility, its long wearing ability. It has a natural skin-like finish that works beautiful when it's photographed. It also stands up really well in humidity. I got married in a tropical climate, so I needed something that was going to withstand the heat, the humidity, and this was fantastic. I didn't top it up all day, it just lasted so well. But what I would say is if you do need to top it up, this is one of those foundations that you can layer over the top and it never looks cakey. Much like the primers, you would pick the foundation based on your skin type. I am oily combination, so the Natural Matte works really well for me. If you're slightly more mature, if you have drier skin, then you might find that the Hydra Glow is a better option for you. If you want it to be very long lasting and you find that you're just more combination but you get a little bit of oil through the centre, you're worried that Hydra Glow might be too glowy but you're worried that the Natural Matte will be too mattifying and you'd prefer more of a satin look, you can spray your face with a mist first and apply it with a damp sponge and that will give more of a satin finish to this foundation. I'm moving on to concealer. This is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. This isn't one I would reach for my entire face, but when I really want some heavy coverage, this is one I'll reach for. I tend to only use this on the inner corners of my eyes where I tend to get a little bit of darkness. You'll notice that I haven't applied any foundation over my eyelids. That's because I want to try the new Eldridge Liquid Silk eyeshadows. These have been made in sort of like skin tone colours. They will give you either a wash of colour or they'll prime your lids ahead of eyeshadow, which is what I'm using them for today. So these are lid smoothing, soft focus matte liquid eyeshadows. Today I'm going to mix together the shades Phoebe and Irene, but of course you can use these colours on their own. Now these do have a little bit of playtime, but they will dry down and they will not make your eyelids look crepey, which if you have used eyeshadow primers before, you'll know that does tend to happen. They're not something you could necessarily wear alone because they tend to make the eye look a lot drier and a little bit more textured. Whereas these are super silky, hence the name. They really do go on beautifully. You can see here, the opacity is great and using one of the other shades will give you a light wash of colour, almost just like an eyeshadow. I'm trying to emulate something similar to my natural skin tone because I am going to be applying eyeshadows over this. So it's not as visible on my lid, but what is most prevalent is that it isn't crepey looking and it is very silky, very smooth. Now we have our primer on, we're going to move on to the eyeshadow. This is the Fawn Eyeshadow Palette, which is a new release from Lisa. Again, this has been created to define and sculpt your eyes. It's created to elevate your everyday makeup look. You may have seen similar shades to this in other palettes from other brands, but you will not beat the formula that Lisa has created. Within the palette, there are seamless mattes, which are super creamy and buttery. There's a luminous finish, a velvet, a satin duo, also known as a duochrome, and a luster finish. I'm taking this sparkling light champagne called White Tie. I love the name. This is a luminous finish. As you can see, it gives the most beautiful reflective champagne highlight, which I find goes on better with your finger. If you've got nails, it can be a little bit difficult to pop it on this inner corner, but if you're gentle, you'll get an incredible payoff. Next I'm taking the Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Milk by NYX, and I'm popping this on the inner third of that mobile eyelid. I'll then use my finger to blend this outwards towards the centre of the lid. Because I'm going to be using the Satin Duo or Duochrome next, I want it to be a little bit more vivid and a bit brighter. So rather than applying it just to my skin tone, having a white base underneath is going to really make it pop. But I only want it to really shine on this inner half, and then on the outer half it will create more of a gradient as it goes from left to right. So this is the shade Debutante, which is a delicate warm peachy pink. I love this shade, it's probably my favourite shade in the palette. And again, I'm using my finger to press this over the white, and as you can see it really does make it much more vivid. And then as we go on the outer half of the eye, it will be just slightly less vivid because it's on the natural skin, and this helps just to create a soft gradient from that brighter section of the eye to a slightly less brighter outer half. You can of course use an eye brush to apply this, but as I mentioned earlier, you'll definitely get a better payoff if you use your fingers. I'm now going in with the Refa number 26 pencil brush. This is a slightly larger pencil brush, and we're going in with the shade Supernaturally, which is a seamless matte. The shade is described as a soft brown, so this is going to work beautiful for the first part of our smoke on this outer half of the eye. I am creating a winged shape to begin with, but we will blend this out so it won't be as obviously winged. It's just to elongate the shape of the outer half of the eye. And to blend this out, I'll be using my Refa number 27 brush. And with very little effort, I'm able to buff that out to create a very soft transitional shade on this outer third. To build on this, I'm going to mix Supernaturally with Upper West Side, which is a velvet, and it's in a beigey taupe shade. And I'm using the same pointed Refa pencil brush. I'm going back in to emphasize the kind of V shape that we are initially creating. I still want to call it a wing, but we're softening that wing with the blending brush as we go so that we never end up with any harsh lines. I know if you have hooded eyes, the idea of a wing puts you off, so I don't really want to use the word, but we are creating this winged out shape just to elongate the eye, but as you can see, it's all very soft. I'm now going in to the luster shade called Dorian. This is a rich chocolate, and again I'm using that pointed Refa brush. This time I'm going to make the shape more defined, again slightly V-shaped, a little bit of a wing, but this is just going from the outer corner of the eye down towards the lash line on the outer third, and then we're going to buff over it so it's soft. Because we are using eyeshadow rather than eyeliner, you don't need to be fearful of creating these shapes because you are going to be able to buff over them. This is just to really kind of accentuate the shape of your eye, but in a much more subtle way because eyeshadow is much more forgiving than something like an eyeliner or a pencil. I can see a little gap here, so I'm just using an angled liner brush to make sure I pull that colour up from the root of the eyelashes. I'm going back into our Satin Duo shade on my finger and placing that underneath my lower eyelashes so that we are mimicking that top lid but without applying the white base. In keeping with mimicking the top lid, I'm going in with the top two brown shades on my Refa pencil brush and buffing this underneath our lower eyelashes and then marrying that up with the Satin Duo we've got on the inner third of the lower eyelash line. Then taking my number 3 brush by Anastasia Beverly Hills, I've popped a small amount of burnt clove onto the brush and then I'm buffing this close to the root of the eyelashes on the lower half and then a little bit on the top half. I say this in every eye makeup tutorial, make sure you connect the lower lid to the top lid on the outer corner. Eyeliner is completely optional. This is my favourite MAC coffee pencil. It's getting very low. I'm going to have to purchase a new one soon. And I'm going to take this all the way along the waterline. Sometimes I only keep this to the outer half or the outer third. You could also pop a cream eyeliner in this area and it will look equally great. This is especially essential if you have smaller eyes. Darkening the waterline can make the eyes look slightly more closed. Here I'm just taking this on the inner half of the top waterline. And then using a little bit of burnt clove on an angled liner brush, I'm very softly running this at the root of my eyelashes along that top lid from the inner corner all the way to the outer edge. As I'm going for a glamorous look today, I'm going to use some eyelash curlers and a little bit of mascara before I pop on some falsies. Refa is a great eyelash curler. They also do a slightly smaller sized one. The curvature's also been adapted, so it's great if you have slightly smaller eyes or you find that generic eyelash curlers don't work with your eye shape. I've used the original shape here. And I'm going in with a small amount of the Lancome Lashes just as a little base to pop the eyelashes onto. This is a new brand to me. They kindly sent me these lashes to try. This is by Caitlin Collection and the style I'm using is Dahlia. They're very soft, very lightweight. I like that the band isn't too heavy and the style is really pretty. They're a bit longer in the middle and slightly shorter on both outer edges, which is great if you have hooded eyes because sometimes a winged lash can make your eye look a bit droopy. I believe I have a link that will get you 10% off, so I will link everything in the description. Now we have our false lashes on, I'm going to pop some mascara on our lower eyelashes, and this is the eye makeup complete. So I will move back onto the skin, but I just want to take a moment to show you how it looks with the eyelashes on. Very, very pretty. Honestly, can't recommend that eyeshadow palette enough. It's so, so gorgeous. Okay, so moving back onto the skin, I'm going to take my Nude Sticks Stacks. I also have a new discount code for you guys. I know I always used to have a discount code with Nude Sticks, but it's been a while. This is my new code. It will get you 10% off of nudesticks.com. This is the shade Sunstone. I have shared this in a tutorial where I was filming in my living room just recently, but I am reaching for this all the time, even in generic daytime makeup when I'm just using a little bit of tinted SPF. This is fantastic at softly sculpting the skin, giving a slight bronze. It's kind of a mix between bronzing and sculpting. I'm using my BK Beauty 106 round top foundation brush to apply this. It's super soft, a very versatile brush, and again you can use a discount code if you want to try BK Beauty brushes. I will list and link all the discount codes and the links to everything I've used in the description bar below. I'm absolutely loving these Nude Stick Stacks, especially this shade in Sunstone. You can see it hasn't overwhelmed my face with being too bronzy or too orangey. It just works really well. Don't forget to also take it down your neck. I like to hold the stacks up to my face so I can see which shade might work best with either my eyeshadow or maybe if I've already got my lipstick on or whatever it might be. You can kind of hold it up and see what's going to work with your complexion. Today I've reached for Sunkissed, which you may have already seen in their Nude Sticks all over face colour. This is the Stacks version. So again, using that same brush, I'm popping this on in the area that I would apply blush, which I tend to keep high up on the cheek for a lifted look, and then I use what's left on the bristles to pull that colour forward. This formulation is like butter. It's very velvety, so the blending is just so seamless. I'm also going to pop that same shade on my lips. I do find that I don't like anything too dark on my lips, so I pop this on, but I also want a little bit of a glossy finish. So I'm going to go in with the iconic London Melting Touch Lip Balm in the shade Undone, which is quite peachy, but on top of this Sunkissed shade, it kind of knocks back the peachiness, but lifts that Sunkissed shade ever so slightly, and it gives a nice glossy vibe, but without being sticky because it's a balm, so I really love this. You could finish there, or you could add a little bit of brightness just to the centre of the face as I'm going to do here. I've chosen the Makeup Forever HD Skin Concealer. Much like the foundation, it blends into the skin without looking at all cakey. It's almost undetectable. It just adds a brightness with a touch more coverage. Because I don't want any streaky lines and I don't want to disturb the makeup I've already put on, I've chosen to blend it in with my sponge because the bouncing effect almost really creates this soft gradient as it blends outwards. Of course, you could do this before you apply your bronzer and your blush, but I didn't really realise I would need that brightening until I'd applied everything. But that's why I like this particular product, because it's not heavy. So I'm using what's left on my sponge just to bounce that around the rest of the face, avoiding the areas that I've applied bronzer and blush. And then using a powder puff, I'm pressing some Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Powder through the centre to minimise shine. A last step is a little bit of cream highlighter. This is completely optional. This is Hush by MAC. It's an absolute classic, an oldie but a goodie. And I love this because it really doesn't enhance the fine lines around the eyes. And I like to press this on with my finger just on the very top of my cheekbone, and then use whatever residues left on my finger to pop a little bit on my brow bone. And that completes today's makeup tutorial featuring some new products by Lisa Eldridge. I absolutely love this Smokey Eye. It's one that you could wear for any occasion. Let me know in the comment section below if you think this is a eyeshadow look that you would wear and what you thought of the products, and are you going to try them for yourself. Again, I will list and link everything I've used in the description bar along with any discount codes. Please subscribe if you are new to my channel. You can also follow me over on Instagram at ShowMeMakeup. See you next week, guys.